A child doesn't even know what La ilaha illallah is. If more fully grown adults don't even know. So for me, the first criteria is that a child should understand what the concept of La ilaha illallah is, and only then will that child understand what belief is. And the second criteria is then to understand that they're meant to develop, to understand the response of.
Okay, but children are still born Muslim, okay? If a child dies and his parents are Muslims and he's, circumcised on day 7 and then, a week later he dies, he's still a Muslim child. Even if he never prayed or even knows what Quran is, okay? Because Allah created them as Muslims, right? I think he misunderstands Shahada. Like, the woman is explaining to him about Shahada and he's not listening to her,
Oh, you don't understand. I don't speak to him. Tell him, do you understand it? Do you understand Quran? Inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyan. Qur'anan Arabiyan. What does that mean? I tell you what. We send this Quran in Arabic. In Arabic. Why? Where's Arabic?
He doesn't even know the Quran. I mean, he can't even read it in Arabic. And then he wants everyone to just accept his, tafsir Quran, that he knows what he's talking about.
Let me say one thing to you, sister. You can't say a few words, magic words, and you become Muslim.
Magic, it's fine.
All these converts come here. I'm thinking of becoming a Muslim. They say, read the Shahada, and you become.
So basically he's saying you can't just take Shahada and be a Muslim. Yeah, you can, actually. Okay, so the Prophet ﷺ in a hadith, he tells the Muslims that, Iman, like strong faith, has not yet entered your hearts. They were new Muslims, and some people used to actually become Muslim because the Prophet used to offer, them financial incentives, and they would take Shahada, okay, and then they had to start praying and learn the religion. It's just like if a Muslim becomes a Catholic because they want to marry a Catholic woman, and she insists that they have to be Catholic. If they do that, if they become Catholics just to get married, then they're out of Islam automatically. It doesn't even matter, because it's about worship. You are worshiping somebody else other than Allah, and you decided to take that, Catholic Shahada just to, marry somebody. So you abandoned your religion, basically. You left your religion. And similarly, if somebody, abandons Christianity and becomes a Muslim, even if they haven't prayed 2 rak'ah, and then they die as Muslims. This guy's like throwing everyone out of Islam, basically, by saying that, like so many people who are just like kind of regular Muslims who maybe don't pray all the salah or they miss some prayers or something. He's basically saying that those people are not even Muslims. Okay, so he's like making takfir on like so many people, just because he's saying, well, you have to have all this iman in your heart. No, most people are not that good Muslims,
No, you don't become a Muslim by saying a few words. That's a lie that we propagating. Okay, brother. You believe that you become
Who's this liar? He's the one that's lying.
The only time that you should say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
So this video was on September 15th. And
no, once you study the last and final message, you understand what that message is. And it's here, not here.
Every single book I have ever opened in my life, the first thing you read to testify is the Shahada, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. I tested any book is that you cannot.
Where the Quran is it?
In the Quran, everyone knows.
Everybody knows. Tell me. No, you should know. It's the very foundation of your belief. Where in the Quran? Where any one of you?
When you die, you make the Shahada. Ashhadu an la ilaha. When you die and when you're born, the Shahada is said to you in a newborn prayer.
Sister,
who said no?
The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What are you talking about? Hear me out.
You're one of the fundamental basic of Islam. You're denying it.
Your belief is based on numbers. Your belief is based on numbers because the vast majority of say this. That's why
don't believe it.
There's no argument about it.
Let me show
You
you.
cannot study either of them.
There are approximately 2 billion Christians around the world. If you identify as a Sunni, that means there's approximately 900 million Sunnis in the world. Let me finish. Please, let me finish. Let me finish.
And all I know is the
Let me
Quran
finish.
and
So there's
Hadith,
900 million
God,
Sunnis
Prophet,
and there's 2 billion Christians.
Yes. Prophet, the man,
2 billion Christians believe.
Torah and Jibreel, and we believe in them.
Sisters.
So he's going on about there's 2 billion Christians. So what? I don't know. The Prophet ﷺ said to stone adulterers. The written Quran says to lash the adulterer. Stoning of adulterers is done in big crowds in public and not in private, so it's impossible for people to lie about it. Okay, so both the memorization of the Quran and the witnessing of stoning were done by the same people, i.e. Sahabas, right? Quran translation, English only. So if someone commits adultery, do you stone them or lash them? Granted that the hadith you said wasn't fabricated. He doesn't know. Just read the Quran. In the hadith it says if they are not married, then they are lashed. Okay. And you're stoned if you're married or you've been previously married and then commit adultery or zina, then you are stoned. Still waiting for you to respond to my comment. Okay, fam, I'm just a teen who wants answers, but whatever. Okay. What do you mean by married and unmarried? If a person commits zina while single, then he or she is flogged. If he or she commits zina while married, they are stoned. Yeah, and to correct, just specifically also if they've ever been married, okay, and then they commit zina after that. Even if they are widowed or divorced. You guys don't follow any sunnah with your behavior. Quran says it's sent for all of mankind, not just people who study ayah for a year. Okay, I think he's just basically saying try to be nice when you make dawah, right? So you don't turn people off from Islam. I'm just gonna take this. Maybe I didn't like the comment the first time. I'm not gonna read it again, but. So he's quoting, he said, "Sister, what have you to remember is that true believers are always small in numbers, always, and they always will be." So yeah, I disagreed with that. Like, believers are, 1.8 now billion, and that's not a small number. It's just less than what Christians are, right? And maybe atheists will be more than Christians and Muslims put together someday. You never know. I mean, but it doesn't mean that our number is small. Okay, Prophet ﷺ even says that we will be like foam on the sea. Our number will be great, but we will be, weak. Okay, so it's not a matter of, less numbers anyway. It's about, strong iman and faith and so on. Okay, so this is a straw man. Do you accept hadith even there are many mistakes? So of course not. If there is a mistake in a hadith, then it's not even going to be sahih, right? So why are you asking about fabricated or weak hadiths? She doesn't have to accept those. Please do not call Quranist who follow Quran. He is Muslim. Do you not follow Quran? If any follower of Quran, Muslim, does any mistake or wrong quote, he will sure correct himself. One is 100% correct and all-knowing except Allah. Okay, no one is, right? She said I usually call them hadith rejectors. Right, exactly. Okay. And then he says further, please do not call them hadith rejectors. Well, they do reject hadiths. That's the fact. Okay. So I don't know what he's going on about. Don't call them that. That's what they are. They are rejecting hadiths. But whatever. I don't know. You better keep quiet and read the Quran. Try to understand by common sense and follow what Allah said in Quran's do's and don'ts. Inshallah will give you hidayah. Okay, I better keep quiet. Why? Yeah, exactly. You have freedom of speech. Whatever. Because you do not want to understand the Quran. Right. Okay. I said, and who's to say he isn't one of the falsifiers, right? Okay, I misspelled that. I don't like that explanation because you're saying there's verses where people or places are mentioned which are not really needed. Why mention Abu Lahab if we don't know who he was or what he did? It's a record for us that hadiths have so many details of the Prophet's life and about Sahaba's lives, the deen and history. The Quran doesn't even name the companions. What I love about hadiths is that we know about the Prophet and companions on a deeper personal level. Quranists hardly can know anything about the beloved they claim to follow. It's one of the striking similarities between them and Christians. There isn't a lot of accurate info about Jesus and his disciples. What they said or did apart from what's in the Bible, it's like nil. Why would we want to reject everything found in hadiths? No way. So he said, read the Quran and judge for yourself. Yeah, like I've read the Quran even in Arabic, okay, 3 times, all the way through in Arabic, even though I'm not really good in Arabic. And I've read it a lot in English, so I have studied the Quran. I said all the info we need would make the Quran a different book. Hadiths about purity are part of our life. The only hadith on an important question makes it compulsory to know and practice. Like washing a dish 7 times after a dog has licked it or eaten from it 1 time with sand, or like turab. You would think to just wash with hot soap and rinse is enough, but it's not. Women wash their soiled clothing and then they can pray in them even if a stain remains. That's only found in 1 weak hadith, but we follow it because it's the only hadith specifically addressing that question. Fiqh rulings need hadiths sometimes. If hadiths contradict the Quran, then we reject them for sure. It's a whole science though, and most people haven't studied it all. Also, which Quran recitation do Quranists follow? So this is where I started asking about which recitation do they follow, because they will not have an answer for that. He said, okay, ask yourself which Quran recitation the Quranists should follow. They won't be able to know that from Qurans only. I said, speaking without knowledge is a sin, and anyway, playing on people's emotions isn't an argument. And then he asked me, where's the proof that speaking without knowledge is a sin? Like, are you serious? You're saying it's okay to speak about your religion without knowledge, just to go on blabbing and, are you serious? Come on. No babies are punished for being burned alive. So he brought this hadith that basically says, if a baby's burned alive, it goes to hell, which is complete nonsense. I've never heard anything like that. And he's like trying to show that, people who follow hadiths are evil, Yeah, so I said, yeah, I have one. I have read the Quran. So this person said, I'm not sure what his point was. He's saying if you reject the hadith, So, yeah. If it's sahih and you reject it, I agree. Speaking without knowledge is a sin. Please explain and give your source. Oh, come on. It's well known. I'm not even going to answer his question. Okay, this guy's nuts. Yeah, you should follow the sunnah. What sunnah though? I agree. Follow the sunnah, whatever. Are you like rejecting sunnah? Like which sunnah? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to like his thing. Whatever. Okay, so he said, I copy and pasted the hadith you shared about women burning daughters. Yeah, nothing related to Islam came up. So yeah, it doesn't make sense why you posted it. Maybe you should search how many wives did Prophet Sulaiman had according to Bukhari. And so what? And can you prove that he didn't have, 300 wives or concubines? Can you prove it, actually? And how long did Sulaiman live? Okay, like you can literally see Christians with like 20 wives. There are some, Christians who've had like 20 wives. So why do they think that, whatever. And our faith is not based on, I have to, definitely believe, like it's not part of my It's not like a pillar in Islam that you have to believe every single hadith. If you don't believe it, you don't believe it. Allah will judge anyway. It's not something we're worried about. It's not Quranist. We just follow Allah's message, which is the Quran. Why Bukhari did promise you salvation? Look at what happened to the Christians. Does the history repeats itself? The Quran is a miracle of Allah and it will be forever preserved. Yeah, and who said it's not preserved, you moron? Anyway. And I sometimes get mixed up who these people are. Okay. Samia said, Bridget, Sarah, if he had 100, the math still works. He slept with 70 of 100, 60 of 100, 90 of 100. I don't know if these hadiths authentic or not. Right. And it's like, they go and ask you about like these hadiths. We know that the only reason they reject hadiths is because the Prophet ﷺ married a 9-year-old. And, they're embarrassed. They are embarrassed because they are embarrassed of their Prophet, basically. Okay? And astaghfirullah, Allah guide them. You can't just reject hadiths outright like that. So, because they don't like one hadith, they want to reject all hadiths, which is really extreme. So I said, Bukhari was a scholar, unlike you. He never promised anyone salvation. Stop diverting. Which Quran recitation is correct, or how many of them are there? My question, no one answered it yet. So I said, yeah, I copy and pasted the supposed hadith, and nothing Islamic related came up at all. I said, some verses of Quran explain or support other verses of Quran. Yeah, I don't know what that was about, but whatever. There can be more than one interpretation, and both can be valid. We say Bismillah before we eat, but Muslims also say Bismillah before slaughtering. So who tells us the interpretation? You? I mean, who's going to tell you what to believe? So many things are explained in hadiths. Okay, if it's not explained by the Quran itself, then it's in hadiths or somewhere, tafsir Quran somewhere, which is basically hadith. And like other book scholars wrote later on. Okay, so I'll forget this. So I'll just get out of here and continue the video a little bit more.
And there's 2 billion Christians.
So we can finish watching it.
There's 2 billion Christians that believe Jesus is the Son
So
of God.
this was September 15th, right?
900, you're part of a 900 million group. Surely if your belief is based on numbers, become a Christian.
Become a Christian. Like he's literally telling her to become a Christian. Oh, like, do you have any shame? Like, come on. Seriously harassing his sister and saying, become a Christian. Whatever.